Are you planning a future cruise? Not sure which cruise to sail on? Hang out with me. I've sailed several cruises this past year, and I'm here to provide you with my favorites and overall recommendations in the following categories: ship, best entertainment, and best cruise food. There are so many choices when it comes to cruising, and it can be overwhelming. Let me provide you with some highlights and some overall rankings of the ships I have personally sailed on this past year. This is going to help you determine if you should select one of these cruises for your next family's cruise vacation. And if any of these ships grab your attention, I have more detailed videos of each of these ships that I'm going to talk about today, and I do encourage you to watch them. Let's start with the ships. I can honestly say that I have found lots of positive things to say about all of these ships that we're going to talk about today. And it's sort of funny how my order of ships from least favorite to favorite are actually in the same exact order in which I sailed. But I'm not going to reveal that to you until the end. So in no particular order, let's begin with the Carnival Legend. So she is one of the oldest and smallest ships. For anyone living in the Mid-Atlantic area, it is so easy to cruise out of Baltimore. The terminal is called Cruise Maryland. They have plenty of parking, and embarkation is very quick. The Legend's crew is fantastic and friendly. The ship was a little dated, but it was very well maintained. We actually sailed on an interior cabin for the Legend, and we found it to be one of the biggest interior cabins that we had ever seen. We were very surprised. Due to the Carnival Legend's size and the fact that it's an older ship, it really doesn't offer all of the bells and whistles that some of these mega ships offer. If you or your family have sailed already on some of the mega ships, this may leave you a little disappointed. So you want to understand what you're getting into if you sail on the Legend. Know the differences and have your expectations in line with those differences. Some cruisers that I know, even personal friends of mine, they love the Legend and they sail on her multiple times a year. If you're prone to motion sickness, because the Legend is a smaller size, you may feel it more on this ship than you would if you sailed up onto one of the larger ships. Also, depending on what time of year you leave Baltimore or what the weather is like, there is a high probability of you getting hit with some rough seas coming down the Atlantic. Typically, as you pass the Carolinas in that area, those seas get pretty rough. I'll give you some statistics. The last 3 times I've sailed out of Baltimore, I've been sick twice going past the Carolinas. I do get motion sickness pretty easily, and I do take motion sickness medication. It still doesn't help on these smaller ships for me, but it's just something that I want you to be aware of. Now, disembarkation took a little longer than I thought. I don't know if that was typical for the Legend, but we ended up sitting in a hallway for about an hour, just sitting there with all of our bags before we were able to actually disembark. Overall, though, we had some wacky times on the Carnival Legend, and I would go on her again. We'll talk more about some other details in just a few minutes. Let's talk about the freedom of the seas. So I fell in love with the freedom of the seas this year. There are so many things to love about this ship. You know, it's not too big and it's not too small. It's kind of like Goldilocks. It's just right. We embarked out of Miami, and from the time we arrived at the terminal to the time we actually set foot on the ship, it only took about 15 minutes. We stayed in a balcony room. I would say it's your standard balcony, nothing to complain about, but nothing really stood out to me with the room. The schooner bar is always lively. They're always doing sing-alongs with the piano, or a lot of fun trivia is happening on that ship, right in the schooner bar. Next to the schooner bar, you'll run right into Playmakers and then the casino. I really like the way that's laid out down on that floor. The adult-only area was perfect, providing a nice, chill place to relax. The main pool areas were lively, and the kiddos had their own zone with water slide and little water areas to splash around in. Now, I have sailed on all of the Freedom class ships, and I have to say that out of those ships, the freedom is my favorite. And again, the crew. I can't say enough about the crew on these ships, all of the ships that we're talking about actually. So I would recommend this ship to anyone wanting to try cruising for the first time, or anyone cruising with a family, or even on a slight budget. The Freedom of the Seas is a more affordable option than some of these newer, larger ships, but she still offers plenty to do for everyone. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I welcome you to the channel. We have a lot of fun here every week, and I look forward to meeting you. The next ship that we sailed on this year was the Symphony of the Seas. Now, we sailed out of Bayonne, New Jersey, which is another easy port if you're in the Mid-Atlantic region. From parking the car to walking into the ship, it took about 20 minutes. It was super easy. Impressive is the first word that came to mind when boarding this mega ship. Symphony is an Oasis class ship, and she is one of the largest ships in the world. This ship literally has something for everyone. If you're bored on this ship, there's something wrong. Again, we stayed in a balcony room, pretty standard, but we did have several rooms booked together on this ship, which allowed us to open up those balcony partitions to make one big space, which was really nice. You just need to ask your stateroom attendant if he will open or she will open them up for you if you're traveling with multiple people in cabins that are side by side. This allows you to have a lot of space out there on those decks. The Symphony of the Seas has all of those Royal Caribbean neighborhoods, including the boardwalk and Central Park. It's hard to believe that this stuff is actually on a cruise ship. If you haven't seen it in person, you're really missing out. The ship is like a floating city. You don't even have to get off the ship if you don't want to. Actually, that's the best time to explore the ship. When everyone else is getting off at a port, stay on. You feel like you have the ship to yourself. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better than the Symphony, I boarded the Wonder of the Seas. Guess I just gave you a little hint there. But sailing out of Port Canaveral wasn't the easiest thing coming from the Mid-Atlantic area, but it was worth it. So Royal Caribbean took the best of what they knew from the Symphony of the Seas and made it even better. Yes, the Wonder of the Seas is another Oasis class ship. The pool decks, though, were reimagined, and it has a whole new layout. It's got a bright, fun color scheme, and I believe it's the start of Royal Caribbean's vision for the Icon of the Seas, which is that Icon class of ships, which separates the partiers from the family. And if you've seen that ship, you know what I'm talking about there. But anyway, the Wonder, there was a pool for every type of cruiser. So you had pools just for families. You had pools for the people who want to party and hear that loud music. And you had a kids-only area. In addition, there was the solarium, which is the adult-only area, which is very quiet and chill. So you're going to find a pool that fits your mood for either your style or just for that day. Sometimes I know I want to have quiet time, and other times I want to be out at the main pool where all the action's going on. The Wonder of the Sea also added a new restaurant and a new state-of-the-art show, which was fantastic. So I know I sound like a broken record, but the staff here, again, was amazing. We made friends with so many of the staff. They make you feel so special, and they really pay attention to you, and they make sure that you're having a wonderful vacation experience. I'll post a link to the tour of the Wonder of the Seas down below in the description, or even here in this video, if you want to take a look at everything that this ship has to offer. Now, we're going to move on to the entertainment and food categories, and then I'm going to tell you what my overall ranking is for the best ship I sailed on this year. You think you know? We'll find out. The entertainment category. So this is subjective, of course, but these are my top picks, or my family's top picks. Doesn't mean they would be yours, but I'm just giving you some ideas on what you can expect. So all of the ships that we sailed on this year had at least one show that we thoroughly enjoyed over all of the other shows on board that ship. Starting with the Carnival Legend, Our favorite entertainment on the Legend was actually the comedy club, the comedy show. If you like stand-up comedy, the Carnival Legend has the best. As a matter of fact, I really would put money on the table and say that Carnival, out of all the cruise lines, have the best comedians at sea. Go ahead and comment down below if you agree or disagree about that. Typically, these comedy shows are adults only, but occasionally you might see an earlier comedy show that's more PG rated if you have those teenagers that you want to bring along. The Freedom of the Seas had the best variety show featuring Jeff Tracta. He's a fantastic impersonator. I was just amazed by him and his performance. He's not going to be on the Freedom every sailing because these types of entertainers typically move from ship to ship. They have contracts, they come on, they do so many shows, then they get off and they go to another ship. But if you do ever see Jeff Tracta while you're on the Freedom, please go see him because he is spectacular. If you're out on any other ship, or he could even show up on some of these ships that we're talking about today. So just keep an eye out for him. I'm going to play a little bit of one of his performances. Symphony of the Seas had the best Broadway musical, Hairspray. If you've seen the movie or if you've been on Broadway and seen Hairspray, you know this is a must-see. Please make your reservation before you board the ship. You can do that via your Royal Caribbean app or at royalcaribbean.com and log into your planner. If you don't do this, you're in jeopardy of seeing the show. You may be able to get into a standby line, and if there's room, you can get in. And being from Baltimore, maybe I'm a little biased about Hairspray since this story is set in Baltimore. I also want to give an honorable mention to their ice show and the aqua show on board the Symphony of the Seas. Those were both top-notch shows. If you enjoy shows on a cruise, then you need to sail Symphony of the Seas because as a whole, every show on that ship is amazing. Wonder of the Seas. So they offer a newly created show that was created by Royal Caribbean called The Effectors. This is about Royal Caribbean superheroes that face off against their arch nemesis. The showstopper is this groundbreaking application which they use to incorporate hundreds of drones into this storyline. These drones will fly over the audience and they appear to be controlled by the villain. It was sensational. I've never seen anything like it. Now, I don't really care for a superhero-based show, so I wouldn't put that storyline at the top of my list, but those effects with using those drones was worth it. So would I go back and see that one again? Absolutely. Just to watch the drone show. Now, it's a no-brainer if you have kids. They're going to love it. Wonder also has an amazing ice show and an aqua show. Now, to be fair, I will tell you that the aqua show was entertaining, but it's not my favorite at sea out of those Oasis-class ships. Neither was the Symphony, but I'm not judging the one that I think is the favorite. If you know, you know. Put a comment down below if you know what aqua show I think is the best at sea. For me, let's rank the ships based on entertainment alone. Coming in the fourth spot is the Carnival Legend and their comedian show. Number 3, I'm going to give that one to Wonder with the Effectors. Number 2 is the Freedom of the Seas with Jeff Tracta. And coming in at number 1, Hairspray on the Symphony of the Seas. If you're a foodie, you want to know which cruise line has the best food. Again, very subjective category because it's based on my taste. But we'll start first with the Carnival Legend. Again, in no particular order here. Carnival has 2 big wins in my book when it comes to food. The first is their specialty steakhouse. You do need to pay a little extra for that. But it probably was one of the best dinners I've had in all my years of cruising. Everything about the dinner was fantastic, from the appetizers, salads, main course, and dessert. We even got a visit from the chef. He came out personally to make sure that we enjoyed our meal. The dessert was phenomenal, and so was our steak, but I'm a dessert girl, so I gotta go with the dessert. But it was great, and I was thoroughly impressed with the Carnival Legend and their steakhouse. Another win for Carnival is Guy's Burgers. If you sailed Carnival, you know. These are hands down the best burgers at sea. Not only are they delicious, but they're convenient because they're located right next to the pool deck. So you can run, grab yourself a burger, go back to your pool chair, and sit down and eat there if that's what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and list some of the other dining options that are available on the Carnival Legend here. Most of them are complimentary. You do have a few specialty dining restaurants, which means you need to pre-purchase if you want to go there, or you can pay when you get on board. But as I always like to tell you, it is cheaper to pre-purchase any specialty dining before you get on board because you're going to pay a little bit more once you get there. The following are the dining options for the Freedom of the Seas. Again, you're going to notice some complimentary dining along with some specialty dining. But to be honest, while I was on this cruise, my husband was very sick, so we only got to go to one specialty restaurant, which was actually Playmakers. It was okay. Typical bar food, I could take it or leave it. I'll show you the menu. I do like the atmosphere. We're big sports families, so we like to go there and hang out, enjoy the shows on the TV, the games that they're playing. They do have pool tables and air hockey if you're into that kind of thing. If you're competitive like we are, we like to challenge each other. The MDR, which is the main dining room, was very good on this cruise. The waiters and the waitresses, this was one of the best wait teams that I've had in a very long time. Now, for some reason, we weren't in that main section of the dining room. We were kind of in this little room off to the side. I don't know why. We didn't have anything special, but we were just in this room. There might have been 10 other tables in there with us. But at the time of dinner where the wait staff comes out and they put on their little show and they're dancing all around the dining room, if you've been on a cruise, you know what I'm talking about. We really couldn't see that because of how we were situated and the door to our little room. Since we could hear the music in the overheads, all of our waiters and waitresses and everyone in that room stood up and started dancing. We had a blast. So if you get put in that little room, and I don't want to say it like we were hidden in a corner by any means, it was a nice sized room. It just wasn't in that main dining room. Let's talk again about Symphony of the Sea. So Izumi is the hibachi grill on the ship. It is one of my all-time favorites on Royal Caribbean ships. They have them on just about every ship. My family insists on going to Izumi on every cruise. So you always start with a salad, soup, then you get your rice, vegetables, and entrees, which include chicken, beef, shrimp, lobster, and of course, there's a dessert at the end. But there's literally something for everyone, and everyone enjoys the little show that the chefs put on while you're there. For lunch, you need to run down to the Park Cafe. Forget about the Windjammer, forget about the solarium. Just go straight to Central Park and hit up the Park Cafe and get a Hummelweck sandwich. It's shaved beef. They put it on a roll or not. They have horseradish, spicy mustard and au jus sauce. It's complimentary and it is delicious. It's probably my favorite thing to eat at lunch on these Oasis class ships. So here are some other dining options that you do have available on the Symphony of the Seas. Again, most of them are complimentary. The ones that are specialty, you have to pay extra for. Don't forget to pay for that or book those ahead of time. Wonder of the Seas. The new Mason Jar. They have a new restaurant. It is so yummy. Southern cooking mixed with live country music. Perfect combination. The food at the Mason Jar is considered to be specialty dining. So you can just hang out at the bar because there's a bar area and listen to the live music. You don't have to go into the restaurant side if you don't want to. So we really enjoyed the Mason Jar. I have to give the #1 restaurant on Wonder of the Seas, for me anyway, as Giovanni's Kitchen. It was my best meal of the cruise. If you enjoy Italian, this is a must. You can go there for lunch if you want to give it a sample, but we went for dinner. It was so good. You could have rolled me back to my cabin when we were done. I wish I could have brought a doggy bag home with me. I didn't want to stop eating this food. Both of the specialty restaurants on Wonder of the Seas, I highly recommend. And you can't go wrong with any of them. Here are the other dining options for Wonder of the Seas if you're interested. Let's look at my ranking. Let's move things around based on food alone. So, number 4, I'm going to put that one up as the Freedom of the Seas. Even though I know some of those restaurants are pretty darn good, I didn't get to experience them this year, and I only got to go to Playmakers, so I'm putting it 4. Now, Carnival's going to come in at number 3 with the steakhouse and Guy's Burgers. I could go for one of those right now. Number 2 is going to come in with Symphony of the Seas, and number 1 goes to Wonder for Giovanni's Kitchen. Comment down below if you feel differently. I know, I'm opening up a can of worms here because everybody's food taste is different. And remember, this is just for what I experienced and what I thought was the best. If you've been around long enough and you know some of the things that I like are also some of the things that you like, then you can take it for, Before I get to my final rankings of these amazing ships, I want to let you know that coming up this year, Cruise Savvy is booked to sail on the Vision of the Seas, the Oasis of the Seas, and we will be on the inaugural sailing of the Star of the Seas. I am so excited about that, so stay tuned for those videos. Here we go. The best cruise ship experience for Cruise Savvy this year, it was a tough call, and I'm going to go in reverse order. Number 4, we're going to give it to the Carnival Legend. Rolling in right behind the Legend is Freedom of the Seas at number 3. The number 1 spot, is it going to go to Symphony or is it going to go to Wonder? Coming in at number 1 for Cruise Savvy this year is the Wonder of the Seas. Let me know if you plan on cruising any of these ships this year or if you have in the past and what your experience was. Would your rankings be the same as mine? Just curious. Have a wonderful cruising year and happy sailing.